So how do you feel about the fact that he said he'd serve for $1 a year?
He can afford to serve for $1 in a year. We can't.
Do you think that's a put on? I mean, you spent a lot of time talking about how he's sort of removed from the average New Yorker. Do you think that's?
I think the larger issue is that obviously people with great wealth can run and get elected to office, and that's all for the good. But we also have to recognize that we want different people from time to time to win elections with less money, and who have to, work and pay the rent and have the same concerns that working people, middle-class people have. So I certainly don't begrudge somebody like the mayor who can afford to work $1 a year. I think that's good, but not every one of us can do that. There's a lot of people in this city who are really struggling out there, and it's really tough, and it's tough to do this.
What did you think when he wouldn't sing?
Excuse me?
What did you think when Spitzer wouldn't sing?
I think that's the difference between us. I'm somebody who's willing to take chances. I'm not afraid to sing in front of Marsha Kramer in Channel 2. And I think that's the difference between us.
You spoke about managing the office. Can you talk a little bit about the office that you manage now, both its size and staff and complexity and the leap that it would be to go from that office
It's not such a leap. I run an office of close to 60 people. It's a $4.5 million office. I manage state grants. I have one of the best staffs in New York City. I have a staff that has done amazing work as borough president. That's why the New York Times, the Daily News Post, and Amsterdam News have endorsed me. They talked about my record. The New York Times said I was an outstanding borough president. When do you get a comment like that? Outstanding borough president.
You mentioned he was up 18% in the polls, and you seem to question those numbers. What numbers are you looking at in your polls?
Stay tuned. We're going to win this race. I'm feeling it out in the street. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm telling you that as people get to know me, now that we have the resource and the television and the editorial board endorsements and the totality of our support, I think there's an upset in the making, and we're on the comeback trail. And this is day one of a campaign that I think is going to reach the voters of this city. Look, we have issued proposals every single week in this campaign on immigration, on saving taxpayer money. People figure it out eventually. They understand that we have a vision and specific proposals for the Office of Comptroller. I talked about my proposals tonight. Elliott had no proposal. Nothing new he would do in the Comptroller's office. If he mentions the word capital market one more time, I'm going to ask him, what does he really think about the capital markets? Because that has to relate to what this job is. So I'm very confident going into this race. And, these polls, as you've seen, the wild shifts in these polls, at some point after the campaign, we're probably going to just have to have a discussion about what attention we pay to these polls, because I get a different poll every day I'm at a subway in Brooklyn and Queens. People are going to vote for me.
The former governor's name has really obviously been out there. It could be argued that not as many people know you. How annoyed are you by this blackout with Time Warner and CBS that number of people did not get to see it tonight because of the blackout?
Well, I thought they did, right? Didn't we?
They did see it tonight.
On
It
cable?
was,
No.
we were not blocked out for the debate.
The debate came
was
on. Oh, okay.
This national race of Comptroller, this national race,
I did not know
got
that.
Time Warner and
See, I learned.
CBS to air it. I mean, think about that.
Scott, numerous times during the debate, he tried to pin you with the third term, that you gave a third term to Mayor Bloomberg. What's that about?
Oh, I am so powerful. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. This is his one chance to gain some credibility with the voters, but it doesn't ring true, so it's not an issue that he's going to be able to capitalize on. Look, if he was somebody who was with Bill Thompson campaigning in the streets, if he ever criticized Mike Bloomberg for anything, he'd never criticized Bloomberg in 12 years that I can see. I was somebody who opposed Bloomberg when he was wrong. I worked with him when he was right. I don't believe in term limits, but the notion that you're going to put term limits on my shoulders when he never went to a term limit meeting, the voters are not stupid. This is the most sophisticated electorate in the world. And you notice he said it over and over again. It was like the talking point, term limits, term limits. Voters don't believe this. I've gotten not one question about it. People laugh about it. And let me ask you another question. You know who the leaders to deny the third term were, right? Go ask any of these people whether they're for Elliott Spitzer. Is de Blasio? No. Is Jumaane Williams? No. Is Brad Land? No. Go through the roll of everyone who voted on the term limit question.
Anthony Weiner was against term limits.
You said Anthony Spitzer.
No.
It's called Elliott Weiner. We call it Elliott Weiner.
Anthony Weiner was against term limits.
Okay, but where was Elliott?
Tish James?
Gash Tish James supporting me. So it's an issue that I understand he's got to find a way to stop our momentum. Look, when the New York Times, Daily News, and Post, within 24 hours, endorse somebody, they commend my record, they recognize I'm the best qualified. Look at that Daily News editorial. They said that I have the arcane knowledge of that office to do a good job. The New York Times said, outstanding borough president, he should be the controller. And every editorial talked about the fact that he was a failure as governor, is unqualified to be controller. And so what do you do when that happens? You have to figure out something. So you go to your pollster and say, create an issue. And that's what he's trying to do. But he has no credibility. The same is true at Midtown rezoning. Do you think that Elliot Spitzer, before he announced for controller, even ever heard of the Midtown rezoning? Do you think he ever went to a meeting? No. And the voters know this. The people in Manhattan know this because I'm going to win very big in my home borough, and I'm probably going to win his home election district. And that's my prediction.
Why would you trust him to
You've hammered
babysit
away
what he
at the
says
issue
is
of
more?
trust, but then you actually said that you'd be comfortable with Elliot babysitting your kids. Does that weaken your argument that he's untrustworthy at all?
And how much trouble are you gonna get in tonight for saying that when you get home?
I'm already in trouble. Well, you know, part of what I want to do is also show that even when you have a tough race like this, and I have real questions about his ability to govern, I have criticized his colossal failure as governor. I went at him on the hypocrisy of his proposals. I have been hard on that because I think the voters have to have a clear choice. But when there's levity in the debate, you want to also remind voters that, you know, we do have kids and we do have, you know, we're human beings, and that was what I was trying to get across.
So will you actually trust him to babysit your kids?
My wife will make all those decisions going forward.
And she says,
It was just my gut reaction. I love the people that are watching our kids now.
okay.
What are your thoughts about the last day or two where a local political activist known for his anti-Semitic views showed up at a Spitzer press conference yesterday and then at yours today?
Well, those, you know, one of them is on the, I think, is on the Spitzer payroll. I mean, these are folks who are working with Elliot Spitzer. They have been very angry people. They're not good people. And again, you know, you are judged by the company you keep. And I would caution him that in this campaign, I know you don't have grassroots support, and I know he has a large paid operation, but you have to be careful who you pay because it comes back to bite you.
Scott, can you
It's fair
confirm
to
that
ask
you
you-
want that you think gambling should be illegal?
I'm not for, what I meant to say with the question is, I'm not for casino gambling in New York City. And that's what I meant to say. And Marcia's question, I think, spoke to a larger issue, which was, how do we really create jobs in this city? You know, I created jobs.
Or
because-
revenue.
Well, revenue, and you know, through my work on 3 university expansions, our work on the high-tech economy, that's how we're going to expand our tax base and create jobs.
Some people were making the point that, you know, Spitzer said right away that Shelley Silver's got to go, and that you know, either took a more measured approach or were not willing, were hedging on that question. What was your
Yeah,
thought process there?
I'm not hedging. My record on these issues has been very clear. There's zero tolerance. You know, I disendorsed a city council candidate immediately. There's an active investigation going on in Albany. Part of what I think the difference between us is you also can't you can't steamroll into things. You have to let law enforcement work its way. He, of all people who used to be the chief law enforcement officer, he should also be a little more measured in the way he approaches some of these issues. It's very easy to snap, but you also have to realize there's investigations going on and members will make the decision. I think I made it very clear tonight, zero tolerance in Albany. And by the way, the one who took on the leadership of my own party in Albany and got reform and ended empty seat voting was me. He didn't do that when he was governor, and I
If you
think
were an
there's a big difference.
assemblyman now, would you vote for him to be replaced?
I think that's a hypothetical question. I don't have the full facts. I'm waiting for an investigation, but you can tell from my answer tonight that I am very disturbed at what's going on in Albany, and I feel very strongly about it.
Did you see activity like that when you were an assemblyman? Not necessarily.
It's good to see everybody. Good to see everybody.